Families divided over proposed sand mining project. Central leaders to petition national government. And Western Pacific University ready for enrollment in 2021. Good evening and thanks for joining us for Monday's news. I'm Charmaine Poreambeb. Members of communities along the north coast of Madang say the talk of sand mining is already dividing families, with factions in support of the proposed project determined to push ahead. As senior members of the Madang community express disappointment, the Madang provincial government is yet to state clearly its position. EMTV, meanwhile, has established that Papua New Guinea lacks specific laws on sand mining, and the legal void opens up opportunities for abuse.
Sarang village along the north coast of Madang sits along a narrow strip of sandy beach. And just last month they were told that their beach has been included in a proposal by a Singaporean company that wants to mine sand. For the older people here, it's a bad idea.
One kind of some coconuts, you sell him, you go on inside there, sell stuff. I mean, selling everything on the sun up. We have work ball making, we have something by come up, good plan, no good, me plan no, so we have something.
Last month, the Mineral Resources Authority held a series of mining warden hearings to gauge the people's views on whether sand mining should happen.
Me plan community belong here, me plan. You don't like him this plan too, and big plan something when me plan against him too, and me plan start. You look at this last, what's on. Suppose this is sand mining come up and pull him long up now, but this is too big go. Now me been concerned because place here and Bolsania. That time will rouse me go. All something trip.
The project has the backing of several local level government councillors who met with company representatives earlier. But Councillor Adolf Lilai from Karkum village disagreed with his colleagues, saying he doesn't fully understand the impacts of the project.
Em stabet mi plan no work on the ground. Why when blalulo this legal case resource na rausim kopinis na bablak si weekend.
One something em disturbing straight lo mi em all to call bakisim 100 meters start lo solwara em brooklem lo nambis na go outside. Suppose em disla 100 meters all to lem lo start lo solwara brook na go outside em minimos em all reef blom pla. Em got big plus sands lo all by rausim all. Na reef em house blow fish. Na fish disla em ol papa nol brata sa kisim kam now. Mi pla mama ol susa mi pla sa salim lo market making lik money lo buy him kai lo buy him school fee disla kain.
Sand mining would mean the removal of more than 10 villages along a 50-kilometer stretch of coastline already suffering from the impacts of climate change. Up the road at Tokain village, the community leaders who disagreed with the project say they're already seeing the social impacts of the project.
Lo community blomipla, lo family blomipla, me lukimika division stop. Sampla oliga ting lo money. Na mipla sampla mipla tingim good pla blong behind time. Na desa ting em start lo pipe lo mipla now. And big place lo mipla. Lo family blomiet me lukimika division em stop.
In Leh, we sought clarification from the Mineral Resources Authority's managing director if Papua New Guinea does have specific laws on sand mining.
We also have the chromite bit sand deposit down at Lababia. There is also magnetite or black sand deposits along the Amazon Bay in central province and stretches right across to Milne Bay. But there are no clear laws governing the development of the bit sand deposit. However, we have been applying a basic law governing the alluvial mining sector, and in fact in this country the only metal that has been mined under the alluvial mining activities is really gold and silver.
Many of the communities don't know and don't care about the legal complexities of sand mining. But what they do know is that sand from their beaches will be taken if this project goes ahead, and that their environment will be destroyed and their villages removed. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Madang.
Land demarcation prior to independence is an issue Central Governor Robert Agarobe is pursuing while in office. This is in relation to land boundaries for NCD and Central Province. A second petition is expected to be presented to the ruling national government over land matters. This follows the recent Central Provincial Assembly meeting where members of Parliament expressed their grievances.
Following a week-long Provincial Assembly meeting, political leaders of Central will now push their agenda forward to the ruling government in a petition. This is the second petition over land demarcations for Central. Governor Robert Agarobe says Central people sacrificed their land to allow development of the country prior to independence.
We gave this very piece of land here so that this country could take the first step and gain independence. But you guys have been very, very unfair to me and my people.
The leaders believe Central have been pushed aside despite being the host province to the nation's capital. With land grabbing a concern, issues like the Manu Manu land saga remain outstanding. The local MP says land is scarce and people need land to support their living by venturing into SME or farming. Isoaimo sought answers for the Manu Manu land saga.
I want to know if the Prime Minister is going to give back the land belonging to my people of Manu Manu Kabadi. As it is, the legal status is now that the state is the owner. But this is my electorate people's stand. We will only welcome agriculture development and not military activities.
With the establishment of the Central Lands Board, the Land Board will review all land matters for the province, including arrangements done prior to independence. Golala MP William Sem says Central people have been denied their land rights and also robbed off from rightful resources built within the boundaries of the province.
We are putting the Lands Department on notice, including the Minister, on notice. Our committee here will review all agreements and ensure that whatever that needs to be done, we'll do. And we'll respectfully ask the department and the minister, please, whatever is rightfully ours, make sure we get what we want.
The petition will be presented to the state, followed by a peaceful protest march to Parliament. Jack Lopave Jr., National EMTV News.
The new Western Pacific University in Yalibu, Southern Highlands Province, will commence enrollments next year and is being included as an institution of choice for grade 12s applying online for a space in one of the tertiary institutions in the country. The university is offering programs in ICT and international management and will enroll up to 240 students in its first academic year. Necessary infrastructure on ground has been completed to cater for next year's intake.
While construction work is ongoing, necessary infrastructure like the administration building, dining hall, dormitories, lecture rooms and 20 staff houses have been completed and ready for use next year. Executive Chairman of the Western Pacific University, Father Jan Zuba, says work has progressed despite a shortfall in funding.
So the construction is progressing well. We experiencing financial shortage. We presented budget, but we never received the money as presented. However, we were able to build as much as we could.
He said the then Prime Minister and member for Yalibu Pangia, Peter O'Neill, in a meeting with the Chinese President during APEC, secured a grant of 41 million kina from the Chinese government, and with all paperwork now in place, this grant is expected to boost the infrastructure development in the new university campus. The grant will be used to build the first digitalized library in the country, 3 staff houses, 1 lecture room and 3 dormitories.
And we are optimistic that this year the Chinese company will come to Western Pacific University and start to construct a very important building for us, which is the library. It's a different library, will be fully digitalized. This library will not have shelves of books. We have a learning space for students to research, to learn and to study.
Academic staff have been secured and are expected to also move into the new campus next year. The university will operate on a structure adopted from America and is similar to the structure used by Divine Word University.
The structure of the university is adopted from the American structure, which is the most commonly used in the world structure. So we don't have a chancellor or vice chancellor. We have a chairman of the council, and the person in charge of the university is the president and has a vice president. That's the structure for universities, which is used in South and North of America, Japan, China, Korea.
Students admitted to this institution will all undergo a foundation year before they choose their specialty areas of study for the next 3 years. The university has agreements in place with the University of Information Technology and Management in Poland for graduates of this university to undergo postgraduate studies there. The Western Pacific University academic year starts in March next year, with the pioneer students expected to travel in by the last week of February. Ruth Rungula, National EMTV News.
Among stories after the break, BSP releases third quarter financial results. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The PNG Forest Authority has announced a revised corporate plan that will give prominence to landowners to be part of logging deals made on their traditional land. PNG Forest Authority Managing Director Tuno Sabwin made the announcement recently in Kimbe, West New Britain Province during a PNG FA consultative meeting. The new plan will introduce downstream processing of logs by mills owned by locals and issuing of logging permits to landowners, among others.
Unlike previous years, the PNG Forest Authority has taken a new approach to deal with logs that are being harvested and shipped to overseas markets. In a recent workshop in Kimbe, the Managing Director for PNG Forest Authority, Tuno Sabwin, provided a rundown on some of the policies in the plan that will change the way the logging industry in PNG will be managed.
The National Executive Council has already approved the downstream processing strategies and also creating SMEs for processing as well. Why can't we look outside of the box and come up with an industrial timber park for the province, or a CPU or centralized processing unit, and all these companies' timber permits and projects agreements can be reviewed so that the SMEs also that would like to take up the opportunity to go into processing can have market access to the CPUs or centralized processing facility in the province.
West New Britain Province is the first province to put its hands up to incorporate the revised forestry plan in its provincial affairs. West New Britain Governor Francis Maneke says the province has been an active participant in the logging industry for over 50 years. In fact, the province had registered over 20 logging companies currently operating in the province and generating more than 60 million kina through the Export Development Levy since 2007. Governor Maneke says the provincial government has adopted the plan so that landowning clans can benefit fully from any logging deals, something that was missing in the past years.
There is so much of negligence with respect to all the arrangements in place in West New Britain. And now that I'm here, I really want to for us, locals, landowners, the districts, the provincial government to make sure we partner in a big way, meaning that we work together to see what best fits us and benefits us in our forest areas and in our districts and also our province.
Papua New Guinea has had its share of problems in terms of logging, the issues of illegal logging, deforestation, the marginalization of landowners, and most importantly, landowners aren't getting enough financial returns from their resources. But the PNG Forest Authority boss says this approach has now been changed.
That's the revised corporate plan for 2020 to 2030, and if you look at it closely, it addresses all the issues, all the challenges, all the mistakes that we have done, and the new strategies that will correct the mistakes that we have done in the past. So this is not a forum that we will start pointing fingers at each other, or to the industry, or to other partners.
Mr. Sabu insists the Forestry Department wants to chart a new future for the country, particularly for the logging-rich regions and those who own the resources. But first, landowners will have to be educated about the revised plan and the policies that come with it so that they know what to do and how to deal with it. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News.
Former Police Minister, 57-year-old Bire Kimisopa, was arrested on a warrant for the charge of misappropriation today. Police accused the former Goroka MP of misusing over 517,000 kina from the Goroka District Development Authority. It is alleged that Kimisopa, as chairman of the Goroka DDA in 2017, facilitated a payment of 517,000 kina to one of his staff for the purpose of a feasibility study and submission of project proposal. The proposal was for the setting up of a university center at Kabiyufa Adventist Secondary High School. However, police investigations revealed the money was not used for its intended purpose. Bank South Pacific has recorded rebounds in terms of its net profit after tax and income in its third quarter financial results in light of market conditions mainly caused by the global COVID-19 pandemic. This is rebounding from the second quarter financial results presented earlier this year.
It has been a difficult business year for everyone. The COVID-19 pandemic affecting global commodity prices and PNG's extractive resources sector experiencing challenges, particularly with mine operators. The Bank of Papua New Guinea was forced to reduce the indicator lending rate for commercial banks towards the end of the first quarter of the year. And Bank South Pacific has also been a part of that, with the aim of providing some form of relief for customers given the effects of the pandemic.
Economic activity in some of the various sectors in PNG and around the Pacific, where we saw that there was a number of our customers in certain sectors, particularly aviation, hotel accommodation, tourism dependent sectors, and we took up some additional provisions in that second quarter. Third quarter, that was able to normalise our net profit after tax just around about 220 million kina. The provisions stabilised. Still able to get some more uplift from investments in government securities because some of the surplus liquidity which had been released into the market when Bank of PNG reduced its cash reserve requirement, we're able to do some investments in government securities to support government.
Bank South Pacific has recorded a net profit after tax of 216 million kina in their third quarter financial results, which is a 31.7% increase from the second quarter results.
We've also increased our lending for this year by almost 150 million kina. And what's interesting there is that total lending is reduced across the board by about 150 million kina, which illustrates that BSP has been able to continue to be able to support businesses by lending in more difficult times, whereas other banks have been pulling back and contracting using their risk-based approach to supporting PNG.
Given strict COVID-19 related restrictions in recent months and most personal and business banking customers resorting to digital forms of banking, Bank South Pacific had over 3/4 of all its customer transactions via digital channels in the third quarter of this year. This is an annual increase of 10% and a rebound of 2.8% post second quarter results, which experienced COVID-19 lockdown disruptions.
Our digital channels have been able to continue to increase and develop our digital channels. Introduced our smart app for personal loan customers who can download that app on either Apple or Android to complete processes for a personal loan application, which then goes through a centralised approval process. And we're also, with our fintech joint venture platform PAC, we're looking to introduce BSP Pay by the end of November.
the national government's investment in the micro, small to medium enterprises sector, which the Bank of South Pacific is a partner to, comes at a time when the resource sector of the country is going through some tough challenges in light of the COVID-19 pandemic this year. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
PNG's local music artists say that making money off their music has become increasingly difficult, with their creative work largely being traded for free. And without a regulatory body in place, issues such as copyright infringements and royalty payments are largely overlooked. Well, a music app developer is trying to change this one aspect, creating a platform for artists to share their music without worrying about their work being stolen.
Last week, local musician Saike in an interview had expressed frustration that he was unable to make a steady income with COVID-19 restrictions in place and poor album sales due to his music being pirated and shared for free. He is among a number of artists in Papua New Guinea that have raised similar concerns regarding their intellectual and creative property being devalued and placed freely among listeners. With his music being played largely on the airwaves in the country, there is also the frustration that his music rights are being denied.
Like now, when piracy law, PNG, I'm big player, I think. Mira, si tupla album now. First album last year, Oman Ripim, Oman Salin about, you know, Kisibula Tomas. Second album, we released him 1 month ago, this year. We released him, you know, Kisibula Tomas, because all man, like, all Ripim, all flash drive, all decrypt him, all Salin about. No got like body will protect him, like music.
When MTV caught up with music producer AK-47, he expressed almost identical sentiments.
We're going to have teething issues. We need to look at our traditional music, cultural music, string band music, local music, gospel music. We have Peroveta. We need to look at all these different categories of music and how can we categorize them, register them, and work to help develop the artists, support them. How can we look at copyright, and how can we look at then exporting our music? I think we shouldn't be talking about export until we get those other things right first.
And these concerns were taken up by an upcoming entrepreneur in the IT software industry who has taken note of the plight of artists and is currently in the process of creating his own music app that alleviates the concerns of musicians.
Getting it into the social media sort of approach where people would like the music rather than having to download and just listen to music and all of that. But there's a few twists and turns because I wanted to find the pull factor.
It's been a 4-year process, and the software developer is coy in releasing all the details of his work for understandable reasons.
Until it comes out, you'll realize the pull factor, because I want it to be different from Spotify, from Apple Music, from iTunes Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, Shazam, SoundCloud.
Other Papua New Guinean music artists have recognized the importance of maintaining direct control over where and how their music is shared. Reggae artist Anselm has a large market base in Africa where he feels his music is more widely and commercially successful. And so too Cali D, who's focused on a more regional audience. Both artists understand how crucial it is for their music to be made available to their fans while benefiting them financially. And these factors have been taken into account by Samuel Uval as he looks to assist the music industry in receiving their deserved fair share.
I'm coming from an IT digital transformation perspective. I would still need the perspective of the artist. It's still a developing process, which is the beauty about it, because then the way you want your music to be treated is the way we can make it happen.
From a political front, musicians are now banding together to petition the government to ease pandemic restrictions that will allow them to make an income in public areas such as bars, clubs, and hotels.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2860 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, the kina is buying $0.2785 $0.3870 Australian dollars, rather €0.2269 euro and 28.50 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed lower, cocoa and copper closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, palm oil and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 28.09 points lower. The ASX 200 is trading at 11.45 points lower. The All Ordinaries is trading at 16.44 points lower. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to the news. The Poirupu clan, the biggest in Hula Village Central Province, hosted their annual church Thanksgiving on the weekend. Part of the fundraising efforts will go towards a new church hall and also to host festive season programs.
Celebrating Thanksgiving is usually an annual event for members of the United Church in Papua New Guinea. However, sometimes it is held on a quarterly basis. The Poirupu clan is the largest in Hula Village, which is located in the Rigo district of Central Province. Ati Roge lives in Port Moresby but has been a regular contributor to the clan's local church through Thanksgiving events over many years.
My dream is to try and continue giving, it's like a legacy that we have done it for years. Through the old generations, they have done wonders. And I hope, my only dream is that I hope they don't drop it.
The clan church's contributions assist them in their giving towards the main Hula congregation Thanksgiving, as well as the Hula Seket, as per the church structure requirements.
When a lot of people are fishermen here, the professional fishermen, and they do a lot of fishing, and they go and sell it at the market, and that's the takings that they get and give it to the church. But a lot of people don't, and that's the problem. With this coronavirus, it's even harder.
The Hula Seket is one of the founding circuits in what was formerly known as East Papua Mainland Region. The region is now known as East Central Papua Region in the United Church of Papua New Guinea. This is the place where missionaries from the London Missionary Society landed here in Hula Village many years ago.
United Church was been started when first missionaries arrived in 1876, June 23. So 2020 is 144 years now. Okay, in Hula we have 4 clans. This is a big clan, a Poirupu clan here. We are making fundraising now. Second one is Kwamonuma, Siligo and Konorigo.
After going through some difficult months due to COVID-19 restrictions, the clan families were still able to turn out in numbers and exceed their targets of giving to the church. With better road infrastructure and COVID-19 related restrictions lifted, the villagers were able to sell fish and other resources for income generation. Their clan members residing in the nation's capital also contributed significantly, providing the reason for them to celebrate the Thanksgiving in style. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
30,000 grade 12 students around the country are sitting for their national examinations this week. Today's paper were for advanced and general mathematics in the first session, while applied science and history in the second session.
For schools in the nation's capital, the COVID-19 pandemic had disrupted learning and teaching when they had to undergo a 2-week lockdown period in early August of this year. St. Charles Luanga Secondary School in NCD, like many other schools in the city, was faced with a memo task in getting their grade 10s and 12s prepared for their exams during a short period of time and amidst the COVID-19 pandemic.
After the lockdown, we had to adjust our timetable and try to fit in extra time for teachers to catch up with students' work. And we also had to take up weekends. Many of our teachers volunteered to do weekend classes just to cover all those notes or topics that were required to be completed. And the holiday, the term 3 holiday, we still had grade 10s and 12s to finish off most of their units and topics.
It was a challenge for teachers and students. Some of the students even opted to withdraw, however were discouraged by the school and asked to remain positive.
So nearing the exam, many of the students, we saw positive response from the students. To some level of confidence, we saw students, like we just completed the grade 10s, and grade 10 showed confidence in coming and sitting for the exam. We encourage them to give their best.
The grade 12s began with Advanced and General Math Paper 1 and Applied Science and History today. Tomorrow, they will sit for Physics and Accounting in the morning, while Geography in the afternoon. Economics and Biology on Wednesday morning, followed by Geology and Business Studies. On Thursday, they will sit for L&L and Applied English in the morning, and Chemistry and Legal Studies in the afternoon. They conclude on Friday with ICT in the morning and Advanced and General Math Paper 2 in the afternoon. The school's tireless efforts in making sure that its Year 10s and 12s are ready for their exams paid off last week when the Year 10s completed their national exams. Now the Year 12s joined the 30,000 other students from 188 secondary schools and 6 national high schools to sit for the yearly national exams. Yana Zoriri, National EMTV News.
Turning abroad, Europe is grappling with another wave of coronavirus, with Spain declaring a national state of emergency overnight and France enforcing strict new lockdown measures. European officials now scrambling to regain control before the arrival of yet another threat, winter.
A last taste of freedom. These are the Spanish citizens blamed for a resurgence of COVID-19. Young professionals who travel, work and party. But they're just hours away from being locked indoors with everyone else as part of a new overnight curfew. Is that going to be enough? I don't think so. I think more measures will come, but it is a good start.
I don't believe that any government actually has a solution. They follow each other. First France did it, now Spain is doing it. Maybe next Italy is going to do it.
He's right. After a new record in daily infections, Italy's nightlife too snuffed out. But there's anger against the reimposed measures, demonstrators taking to the streets in Rome. How many times can they do this again?
We feed people, we do hospitality, and without our clients, whom we can't feed anymore, how can we survive?
In the beginning, they talked about a curable virus with the lockdown, but after 8 months, it transformed into a bigger problem.
Once applauded for its handling of the pandemic, cases in Germany have soared to a record high. It's getting colder too, officials warning of another tough fight ahead. But in the US, a concession that the virus will continue to spread.
We're not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines.
20 states have set new record highs in daily cases. The death toll now past 225,000. Still, this was the scene in Columbus, Ohio, as more college football makes a return. Cases are spiking in rural communities.
It's among all of you, and you can't see it, and you can't know it is there.
Also hard to see a return to normality around the world by Christmas.
Trukai Sports is next. Fidelis Sukina with all the latest in rugby.
Thank you, Charmaine. Port Moresby Vipers hoping to make it to the second-tier competition in Australia, and some news in the off-season competition. Join me for Trukai Sports after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. The SP PNG Hunters are currently the only PNG team taking part in a rugby league competition in Australia, but the Port Moresby Vipers are looking to get into the Australian second-tier competition scene. In the 80s, the Vipers took part in the Panasonic Cup and also in the Queensland State Championships. The Port Moresby Vipers have been through tough times, but this season has been a shining light on the venomous franchise. While they have had a huge leap into the finals, they have for the first time in a while been financially secured. With a newfound push, the team is being persuaded to take up the mantle of being the second team in the Queensland Intrust Super Cup. Despite his absence, chairman of the Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League, Sandy Saka's message was put forth by Stanley Hondina, a sound recommendation for the Vipers.
The Vipers has been in the Brisbane competitions, in the Australia competitions some years back. He says, can you extend, aside from Hunters, if we can get another team in Papua New Guinea to be out there, he wants to make that extension to Vipers, who's been a city team, who's been there before, who can do that. And he said, pass that on to them.
For those that have been scheming through the internet, for PNG Rugby League may have come across Vipers in the World Rugby League 7 series. That's just the tip of the iceberg, with the Vipers having taken part in the Panasonic Cup in Australia in the late 1980s and the Queensland Cup as well in 1996 and 1997. With their new home ground at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium soon to finish and a host of sponsors lining up, another team in an Australian competition is gaining momentum. NCD Governor Powes Pakop says that's a long-term goal, something that has been discussed with Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League.
The message from Chairman Sandy Saka, I've discussed this with him. I've mentioned to you all, our team, boys, we must aim high. We've done the Digital Cup nearly going to 20 years now. We have to push the boundary and look at newer horizon. We've been there before, and certainly we are ready. Our team, your team too, is ready to go into as a second franchise in Q League or go to New South Wales Cup. The Fijians are going there, and we want to meet the Fijians on the field in Sydney. That's our goal.
The biggest suburb in Port Moresby, Gerahu, is into the second year of the off-season rugby league competition, a competition that has a staggering interest, with 63 teams showing interest. But organizers say they will only allow 32 teams. The conditions aren't that good, but that does little to deter interest in the most popular sport in Papua New Guinea. Location, the biggest suburb in the nation's capital, Gerahu. The sports center, the epicenter of Gerahu Rugby League off-season. Coordinator and Vice President Bomai Ninkama having to deal with overwhelming interest.
Teams come inside, me got at least on my hand 63 plus teams. But me give first a chance of privilege go along all teams so me put low draws, especially Gerahu area, me give him a 20 plus team. Now 12 plus team me give him go along outside.
The City Slickers may look like a ragtag rugby league team for now, but they will eventually have to be properly attired for the season.
Me said him 1 block condition, 2 block condition. First 500 kina affiliation fee pay him. Now not block requirement full set jersey uniform. Before being block kick off block proper season, which is a following week.
The 32 teams that will qualify for the competition will be put into pools, with 8 teams in each pool for this season.
Last season, we play running 48 the club. We play all participate, we play running. Now this season, we play cut him down, we play 32 team tasol, but participate and by got 7 rounds.
The sponsor of the competition is none other than Powes Pakop, the governor of the National Capital District. The deluge of supporters is somewhat of a hassle for the competition, and it can be a challenge.
Gerahu densely populated inside Longan CDC. Gerahu Sabab itself and big population to us Plus crowd long outside to come inside. Mipla go inside of finals na proposition all supporters lo crowds. Side lo mipla la control him hardly.
The second year of the competition is set to commence next weekend after the completion of the pre-season.
2019 to 2020, mipla running first. Governor me sponsor him la competition mipla running. Now I'm second consecutive season mipla running.
When we come back, yesterday's Nrl Grand Final. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back to Trukai Sports. And to last night's NRL Grand Final, the Melbourne Storm beating the Penrith Panthers 26 points to 20, ending Penrith's game-winning season and taking their coach on an 18 minutes roller coaster ride.
It's one of sport's greatest spectacles.
40,000 people allowed in under the COVID cap.
Last night, those 40,000 saw why.
Hold your breath. We have a decision. Hold your breath. It's a penalty try.
Perhaps an early indicator, Penrith would have to weather one hell of a storm, with 2 disallowed tries and 2 costly penalties.
At the moment, the Panthers have had no rub of the green.
They say when it rains, it pours.
He'll run the length of the field.
This was the try that felt like Melbourne had it all but in the bag.
Oh, we have a decision. Incredible.
Even more incredible, though, Penrith's comeback.
Crichton's tried to break them, he has.
20 unanswered points in the second half, though Coach Bellamy had plenty to say. Oh, to be a fly on the wall when 2 of his players were sin-binned soon after. But you can't fault the Panthers' resilience nor Cleary's brilliance. Cue Bellamy's reaction.
That's what the club was built on. Train hard, play hard, never give up.
The Storm going on to win their 4th premiership title. A game best summed up by Kiwi-born Brandon Smith.
I played pretty shit tonight, but I got the ring and yeah, it's for sale. I need to pay for all the beers. I'm about to sink.
And you can only imagine the scenes back home had Melbourne not have been in lockdown. A sea of purple playing ode to their team and captain, who steadied the ship through a challenging year.
We haven't been home for about 5 months. And, just with the conditions that we've been under, I think it's just a remarkable effort to be here tonight and to get a victory.
The NRL legend giving nothing away about his future plans.
To the captain, I hope he can play on. And to Craig, Smitty does all the coaching, so he's just getting paid lots of money to do pistol.
You can tell they've been living in each other's pockets, but boy do they have a story to tell.
And Lewis Hamilton has set a new record for Formula One victory, claiming his 92nd win at the Portuguese Grand Prix. But Hamilton now stands out for an entirely different reason.
Always thinking, always winning. For Lewis Hamilton, for Formula One, this circuit in Portugal was new.
And it's lights out and away we go.
The start, well, familiar. From pole position, Hamilton led, but within seconds...
Bottas ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
He was second. Teammate Valtteri Bottas in front. Now here's Hamilton's view. In pursuit, watching, hunting, passing.
Started on pole, back into the lead now.
It took him a little while, but that was the race. Hamilton has the best team, they have the best driver. Simple. His 92nd victory.
The record is broken.
Statistics prove who's best, but they're only part of it. A new history of F1 has just been written by Maurice Hamilton, no relation. He told me that Lewis has taken the sport into new territory.
He's not afraid to stand up and use his public platform to speak and to speak his mind. People may not agree with it. He doesn't really mind about that. He just wants to get it out there. So I think he'll be remembered as the first Grand Prix driver who's been willing to stand up and speak about matters outside motor racing.
Well, thousands were there to watch Hamilton win. Only one of them really mattered. Now the top of the world. It all began with just him and his dad.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. Charmaine will be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Port Moresby partly cloudy with some rain drizzles tonight and tomorrow. In Daru, fine partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Kerama, rain drizzles tonight and tomorrow. Alotau, rain drizzles tonight, then fine partly cloudy tomorrow. And Popondetta, some rain showers and drizzles tonight, then fine tomorrow.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
The way it is this Monday, 26th of October 2020, beginning another working week from the news team. Pleasant viewing. Good night.